So I landed safely here in Adelaide, and I was lucky enough to have someone to receive me at the airport. And this was a Faith Sawe. She's a very beautiful and educated lady, and I thank God for her, and may God bless her so much. She offered me a place to sleep, and she offered me food, which I ate because I was very, very hungry. And yeah, for the next days, I was transferred to another house in Goodwood for a very good friend of mine called Kabare Mwangi. I'm sure a lot of you know him. And so that was a place that I lived for quite a few months, and life was interesting. I remember that first weekend, Kabare called one of his friends. It's called Mike Toroman, and told him there's a Maasai guy who has arrived. You have to come and meet him. And I was very lucky because I met Kenyans here who received me well. And that first weekend we actually went partying. And to be honest, I had never gone to a party or a club, so it was an interesting experience. And that very, very first weekend, they got me to drive. So yeah, my very first weekend here, I had to drive a car, which was as well interesting. So life after that was, um, quite, shocking because you had to now, figure out your way out. I had to go with a friend, the same faith. She showed me where my school was, how to catch a bus from one point to another, and I thank her for that. So we started, going to school. Uh, I remember I used to go to school from 9 to 5, and then from 5:30 to around 10, I used to go and study nursing. So um, through this process, that's when I met my very good friend Nelson Kipchumba, who we have lived this life together. We have gone through challenges together. So we used to go to the school of nursing 9 to 5. After 5, we have to quickly rush, go for our aged care studies from 5:30 to 10. And then from there, we had to catch a bus back to where we stayed. And I remember this very day. I think it was my first week of study. And so I arrived, and I had to walk from the bus station to my house where I was living. But because it was at night and it was raining, I could not figure out where my house was. So I had to walk around the suburb at night, trying to check where am I, where am I going to rest? But eventually I found where I was living. So life, I cannot say it was easy because now, the expenses come in because we also had to pay rent, you also had to pay your metro card, you also had to eat, and it was quite challenging. And at this time, you cannot, ask money from home because you also know there are your siblings who depend on your parents and things like that. So it was quite challenging at first. And I remember my friend Nelson Kipchumba, he got a delivery job to deliver the catalogs in people's mailbox. So we used to do that, and we got paid $60 a week. So we would split $30, and that we would use to fill our metro cards and also to buy a few drumsticks for those who know. So the diet was majorly rice and drumsticks, Monday to Friday, and maybe you could throw in um, some veggies there once in a while. And on the special occasions, you could throw maybe a steak. But these were very rare occasions. So we lived like that. I had to move out from Kabare's place because he was moving. So we had to find a shared accommodation. And I remember I had, I had a very small room with a single bed, and that's where I used to sleep. And one time, my friend Nelson did not have a place to sleep. So there was just a few issues. So I had to, host him in my in my little paradise, So and you can imagine it was summer, and that room did not have the AC.
Yeah.
We only had a fan which was making a lot of noise. So one person would sleep in one side of the bed, the other one would sleep there, and there is no turning until tomorrow morning. So yeah, and at that time we were almost completing our placement, and then Nelson got to move out. He moved to another house, which was a bit bigger in a shared accommodation, and then I stayed in my shared accommodation for a while, and then my landlady started wanting to increase rent ridiculously, and also she did not want my friends to visit me. So I decided, look, I'm gonna move out. So I did not have a place to go to, so I had to go and be a squatter in Nelson's place. And so thank God it was a king bed, so there was no much struggles. And I think at that very moment, that's when I got my first aged care job. And I remember, a lot of people used to say, in Adelaide there is no jobs. You have to wait for 6 months to get a job. But what I normally tell people is that you are the one who writes your story. It matters a lot where you position yourself in life, around what sort of group of people. And I remember at this time I had met very wonderful people from Restoration Hour Ministries, and I was getting involved with the church, and it was a very encouraging moment because I felt at home and I felt being a part of something. And so for me, I always believed my story would be different. You don't have to tell me I'll have to wait for 6 months. God knows my purpose. God knows the story that He has for me. So I was very lucky to get a job. I think only 3 weeks after I completed my placement. So, and also, luckily enough, also Nelson got another job as a cleaner. So we started, fitting into the community really well. And I also treasure the community because I'm a community person. I love engaging with people. I love being social because then you can create a nice social network, which in times of happiness or troubles, then you can, always find a place to go. So I used to involve myself with a lot of sports. I played soccer for the community. I also started joining a rugby club, Brighton Rugby Club, which was wonderful. I had a very wonderful time there. So at this time, I think almost 2 months into the job, we also met with Mike, and he was trying to find a place to rent. So me, Nelson, and Mike, we rented a place, and we started living in our own, place, and which was really nice. It wasn't easy because at the start, you need to furnish the house. I remember for a whole week we showered with cold water because we did not have enough money to connect electricity. We only had like a seat, and we had a fridge. We did not have beds. We used to sleep on the floor for quite a while, which, so long as there is somewhere you're going, you don't have to worry about now. So long as you're working and you're hopeful. I'm a believer of hope and faith. And in saying that, faith without action is dead. I know sometimes we hope for the best, but we are not doing the best. We are not, working towards the best. So we continued working. We also had school on the other hand. Nursing was interesting. We had to do placements, we had to do assignments, we had to do, referencing, which I had never done. It was quite challenging, but to be honest, surrounding yourself with a powerful cycle of people, you'll always find a solution to something. And also, acknowledging that there is God always there to guide you. So I can say the journey started becoming a little simple. Now you can afford food, now you can afford to pay bills, now you can afford to send a bit of money home, now you can afford, to buy a car. I was lucky to buy my own car. My friend Nelson also was lucky to buy his own car. And the journey, people in the community also were very encouraging. At that time, I was not very conversant with CASA, but people from church, RHM, people from the rugby club also were very helpful in giving me advice. And just one thing to tell people out there, a lot of people will give you advice, and you need to be critical. You need to be a critical and analytical thinker, because people will say words, you never know what they really want, because not everyone wants the best for you. So you need to think before you do whatever someone is telling you to do. And that's what I'll tell people. I know a lot of people come here, people tell you this is best for you, drop out from this, do this, move from this place, go to this place. And it worked for them, but it's different for you. So position yourself in your own place, because you're an expert of your own self. So don't compare yourself with other people, because I feel a lot of people who come here see, oh, that guy has a really good house, that guy has a really good car, so I'll use my school fees to buy a car. But on the other hand, the priority is school fees, because it's the one that is keeping you here. So set your priorities right. And once you achieve all this, other luxuries can come. And I can always say that again and again.